Welcome, friends, to the Gaijin Animation Appreciation Hour with your hosts, Sig Bisley and Colt Mauser. Before we get started, please be sure to like this video and subscribe for more content just like this. Now, let the animation appreciation commence.
It's another Friday, so let's get it.
Yeah, man. Let's get it done.
We got brand new SPRIGGAN to go over. First two episodes, anyway. They're kind of long.
Yeah, so they're really individual OVAs. Each one.
More or less.
They're
you
more
can
like
kind of take them individually.
Yeah, they're more like 40-minute to an hour OVAs than they are episodes.
The second OVA is basically the movie, so we stopped there.
Yeah,
because that's like a good chunk to get into.
Yeah, we'll talk about the comparison and such.
So whatever we watched this week, question of the week. But right now, as always, the news.
Yeah, the news. All right, so it's a lot of video game news this week coming out of Fake E3. So I said that last week. I'll say it again this week because there's still more news. So No More Heroes 3 is coming out here on October 6th. It's coming out on PC. It's coming out on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox X and S.
Everything.
Switch users, sorry. Not yet, at least. I know a lot of people like this franchise. It's... Oh, no, apparently it was already out on the Switch a long time ago. So it's not coming out on every other console besides the Switch. Sorry, I thought only 2 was out for the Switch, but apparently 3 did come out on the Switch. You can tell I am not a huge fan of this franchise. Not that I dislike it, I just never really played it too much. But it's got a cool style. It's got cool art. It's got lightsabers. I'd check it out if that's what you're into, or just looking to get into a new game. Anyway, I will move on here because to me, the far more interesting news, although this game was never exactly good to begin with, but Lollipop Chainsaw is coming back.
Nice.
There's a great piece of really shoddily put together digital art announcing the comeback. Sparkle hunting zombies. It's, if you don't know what the hell Lollipop Chainsaw is, it is just like a hack and slash franchise with like a cheerleader looking, kind of Harley Quinn looking girl with a chainsaw, guns and whatever else.
It was a thing a few years ago.
Doing work. Yeah, the first one came out in 2012 apparently on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 back in the day. It also involves Suda51, which is the guy who did No More Heroes. And apparently James Gunn was somehow involved too. So
fair enough.
Hey, it's a funny idea. So it's coming back. I don't know exactly in what format and what it's going to look like, what consoles it's going to be on. I don't know. They're just hyped to tell you it is back. So be on the lookout for some sparkly chainsaw zombie killing action.
Fantastic.
Coming to your house. All right, so more news, and I may have mentioned this before, but I mentioned it again. They're actually doing a new Trigun.
Yeah, I think we brought that up at some point.
Yeah, it's 3D CG.
Or I might have just read about it myself, and
It's got a 2023 release date, so that I think is pretty new.
You know what I never need more of? Trigun.
Man, I want to like Trigun. There's parts of Trigun I like. There's parts of Trigun I don't like. Now, I don't know if it's the manga's fault or if it's the original show's fault or what. Like, I get the premise of, not wanting to kill people. And I liked in the original one where the guy basically forced him to do it. Because he's like, what the hell, man? It's the Batman problem, right? Like, yeah. Batman, I get it that there's a line that you probably shouldn't cross, but if you at some point you probably should have killed the Joker. You should have just offed him.
They took it too far, I think.
I think so,
because, remember Burn Notice? I don't know if any of you guys ever watched that show. It's really good.
Very good
show.
But,
he was, adamant that he didn't want to kill people, but he would just make these elaborate plans to, So it was, interesting.
He would kind of Monte Cristo them, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't as annoying. Trigun was just like, I don't care how many kids you murder. I'm just not going to kill you. It's like, this is boring and stupid.
Yeah, so that could be, the subtlety of the message might have got lost in translation. It also could have been an adaptation that wasn't great. I don't know. So,
well, I mean, it was kind of like, 1,000 things have done that same, like,
Yeah.
you know, my wife died or what, my girl, whatever. And, like, I promised them I wouldn't kill anymore, you know, like the retired, very John Wick type of thing, you know.
So I don't know. I will give it a chance, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But if you are a fan, you know, I bet you this will be pretty damn good. Although it is CG, so you never know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You never know. We'll have some thoughts about CG for Spriggan today as well. All right. Moving on. So apparently they're doing a Dark Souls novel.
Sure. Why not?
I mean, I don't know how that's going to work. One, Dark Souls is a very visual kind of thing, less so a story kind of thing. It's
Maybe they're gonna make it a story kind of thing.
I guess I'm not saying, and the story is very obtusely told, which, you know, it's a fantastic idea for a video game where you can really like kind of, you know, you find different stuff in the game, you can read little different bits of lore, you can try to puzzle it out with people. It's a fun mystery. Just a book? I don't know. We'll see what goes on here.
Yeah, I have no idea. Sounds like a cash grab, but what do I know?
Yeah, it's very strange. But then why Dark Souls? Wouldn't you do Elden Ring? Could somehow tag George R. R. Martin's name in there? Like,
I guess.
that's also the new hotness. Like, unless everybody likes Dark Souls, but the last Dark Souls game came out in like 2016, 2015.
No
The
idea.
DLC came out like 2018. Like,
No idea.
don't get me wrong, I killed for some more Dark Souls, but what? Yeah. Anyway, this is what's happening. I don't know. It's always interesting too because, you know, the main character in Dark Souls, the whole point is it is a blank slate for, you know, for the player to project themselves onto.
Yeah, so it's be hard to like make a main character in a story.
Yeah, it's fully customizable. So I don't think that's going to be the point. I don't think it's going to try to retell the story of a, you know, of a specific game or anything. But it's strange. I don't know. I get the idea of trying to expand the universe out. I think you're already missing the opportunity if you're not doing it visually. Like a comic book, a manga.
Maybe they want to like
would make more
use it
sense.
to like lay down lore. You know what I mean? If they want to do something with that franchise later,
I guess like
different.
you're not. I mean, a guide to the world or something with like art and stories and stuff would make more sense.
I get it.
I don't know. We'll see. But hey, maybe it'll be good. I don't know. It's written by Michael Stackpole. He's done some Star Wars stuff that doesn't really give me a lot of faith.
It doesn't inspire confidence.
It's not like it's Timothy Zahn and it's good Star Wars stuff. But anyway, be on the lookout for that. That's coming out this fall. Right now it's scheduled for end of October. All right. Moving on. So this was actually kind of not fortuitous, but serendipitous. I was looking the other day for like, hey, can I just buy the damn new Ava movies? Can I just buy the Blu-rays or 4K or whatever? Can I just get them? Because, you know, right now they're streaming on Amazon, but who knows how long that's going to last. And
yeah, and I own every other shitty version. So
yeah,
I might as well buy
I'd like to
those.
have them, right? Especially since I like this version. So I'm like, okay. You can
that's
get
like
three of them.
That's my canon version.
You get three of them. One of them is really expensive. I don't remember which one. It was, I think it might be the second one. Really hard to find, really expensive. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then you can't get the third one yet. I'm like, that
Give me
shit
a
came out like a
goddamn
year
box
ago.
set.
What's going on here? Yeah, so apparently just now, GKids has acquired the rights for theatrical showings, which I'm assuming that's some limited time event because it's already been available on Amazon for over a year.
Exactly.
And the home video rights to that one movie. But only that one movie. So I don't know what's going on. It's and GKids also is with Shout Factory, so that's, you know, if you do see horror stuff, Shout Factory does a lot of that stuff. So I'm not, you know, I'm glad someone picked it up and it's going to get released, but I don't know what the hell's going on.
Why can't they just take my money?
I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know what they're gonna do. I just don't. I just want a box set. Give me like a 4K box set, please.
Yeah, for fuck's sake.
Even just a Blu-ray box set. Just for the love of God, I just want the 4 movies, please.
Yeah, stop trying to squeeze stupid money out of it in the theater and shit. Just give me a goddamn box
Yeah,
set. Call it
I don't know. So we'll see what happens here, but it's
somebody write
gonna
a
be a
book.
while. Now, in the interim, just watch the damn thing on Amazon Prime, which is available in damn every country.
How
or
many
see how the high
years?
seas.
How many years was it between, like, you know?
There's a reason I refused to watch any one of those goddamn movies till the last one was out.
I think I watched the first 2, and then I was like, fuck it. These are never going to finish. At one point, they were saying they were going to make 5, and then they made 4 because
it didn't need 5.
Getting it done.
It didn't even feel rushed. It went so crazy that I don't think 5 wouldn't have even worked.
I don't know what they would have put in it.
It would have been padded out. Honestly, I think the pacing would have got really stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were going to do that, they would have had to end 2 differently and stretched 1 and 2 into 3 movies instead of...
You know who you should never give extra money to?
Something else, Anno.
Anno.
Yeah. Certainly not going to spend it wisely.
Nope.
All right, so we're going to move on to some merchandising news here. This is less wacky and more just kind of interesting.
It exists.
So they're doing... So Bandai and Takara Tomy now, are kind of making some stuff from each other's franchises. So Bandai is going to put out a I'm not a Zoids guy, but a really awesome looking Liger Zero from Zoids and its Shogakukan line.
I had some Zoids when I was a kid that were like fucking amazing.
Yeah,
they were super hard to put together. I had to have like my uncle do it.
Yeah, this thing looks cool though. Like, it looks really goddamn cool. So, credit to Bandai. And then they're also putting out some. It looks like a kid's toy version of the White Base.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Which is pretty cool.
I picked that up.
Under the Takara Tomy Tomika line, which is kind of like, not Little People, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like GoBots is now, kind of like Playmobil. Yeah, not quite the same. A little cooler looking than that, but White Base actually looks pretty cool, so.
I'm down.
Yeah, they're going on sale in 2023, but Google those up, check them out, or use your browser of choice. The Liger, I think, is the more interesting of the two, but hey, White Base is always cool. So,
didn't Zoids have those toys that were like they had like rubber bands and shit, and they like walked? They had little motors in them.
Yep.
Yes, those are ridiculous.
Yep.
Like no child was putting those together. It's so fucking complicated.
They came out way later. Like they came out for us. Like we were already early teens. There were other toys that were similar.
I remember having one when I was like little.
Yeah, there were similar ones, but I don't think they were Zoids.
Yeah, it might not have been Zoids.
There was some precursor. I know
like
the
a
ones you're talking about.
Whatever, but
yeah, I know exactly.
I
what
remember some
you're
crazy
about.
thing with rubber bands.
And they had
like,
little motor units and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
I'm like, how the fuck do I like
connects
operate this thing?
Regardless, there was something else that was like the precursor.
Yeah,
Probably also
definitely.
Japanese. I'm not a Zoids historian. I don't know.
Me neither.
But regardless, they had some cool stuff.
I have a vague memory of Christmas in like 1987 or something.
Yeah. All right, so we got some Gundam news. Got a couple bits of Gundam news. The first one is some more stuff's being released about Witch from Mercury. So the scripts are going to be done by Code Geass's Ichiro Okochi. So
Super boo.
We'll see.
I can't boo any harder.
I like most of Code Geass. It's ruined because I really don't like the main character.
I don't like any of the characters. Code Geass was one of those absolutely insufferable shows where every character was a knob. Like,
no, Code Geass had some good side characters. Code Geass was the show where, like, fuck all the main characters. There's some cool side characters.
It just had, like, every annoying trope.
That awesome dude with the giant sword, and he had that, like, ridiculous long-haired man.
Yeah,
like, that guy was badass.
Yeah.
Some of the like figures I have from that show are from that. I think it's all that guy's
it's true.
Suits or whatever. I can't remember what the fuck they were called. Something frames? Nightmare frames?
Nightmare frames,
yeah. It's been a while. Anyway, new stuff. There's also July 14th. The prologue is going to get released. I'm sure that'll make its way around. I know it's going to be screened at like a bunch of specific Bandai locations and somehow available, but I'm sure you'll be able to find it. I mean, the designs are kind of cool. They're kind of, I don't know. Some of them are a little generic. Some of them are more Nagano. Like, I'm kind of stoked to see them in action. I'm hoping there's some money spent on this show and it looks good.
Like you said the other day, they're generic to start, but they'll probably have like 27 different forms like, in the show. They're like way fucking cooler.
Costume designs, I don't know, man. They're almost turn A-ish.
That's funny.
They got some interesting.
Mad Victorian.
They got some kind of. I mean, they're like future Victorian, but they got kind of that look going on.
No.
This has got dirty boots and dirty stockings. Like, I mean, And this dude, it almost looks King Gainerish too. Like this dude looks like freaking Southern Cross from King Gainer, Black
funny.
Southern Cross or whatever. Gulj Turk. A little more emo, but he's got a beefy boy of a mobile suit. And then they got that Nagano looking woman. The Gundam Pharact. It's got some Nagano going on, for sure. It needs to be more gold. It needs to be way more gold. But
Yeah, why isn't it completely gold?
or maybe completely white. Like, those are Nagano's two kind of go-tos. But yeah, some cool designs here. Some of them, there's some variety in the designs, which I like. Like this one I'm looking at now, the Michaelis. It looks more like a grunt suit, but it looks more Full Metal Panic-ish.
Yeah.
Right? It's got tiny feet. Tiny feet.
Well,
So, yeah.
his tiny feet.
There's more images out there. There's more information out there. You know, obviously this drip flow of information will continue till the show comes out in the fall. That prequel little movie thing will be out. I'm excited just because it's something new. It may be garbage. You know, a lot of Gundam side shows are kind of but you know what?
We'll see.
We'll see, and I will certainly give it a chance. I'm excited to see one. I'm glad they're making them again. All right, so second bit of Gundam info is some merchandising that's just kind of cool. They're making a toy version, you know. I'm holding up my hands like people can see. But a toy version that's, you know, kind of normal size, like kid squirt gun size, like super soaker size, of the Gundam beam rifle that shoots rubber bands. You can load it with 4 rubber bands.
That's pretty awesome.
So, you know, little sisters everywhere beware. It comes with 2 targets. One's the Zeong and one's Sharzaku.
It's the kind of thing your mom takes away from you and like hides on the top shelf of the closet.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, and plus, if it works well, like, obviously people will load it up with, like, rubber bands that get stretched more so you get more power and, you know.
Yeah, man.
It's only going to be $7.
That's 12-year-old boy ingenuity.
$7.
Wow, that's a deal.
So, kids in Japan are going to be all over this, and
I want to buy a dozen of them.
it looks like it'd be a fun, you know, fuck around with your mates or in your office or whatever toy too.
It's true.
Pretty cool. Looks like the original beam rifle. I'm not going to say the proportions are great or anything, but who cares? It's there to shoot rubber bands at people and look cool. So
I'm not really worried about it.
It succeeds at its job. So be on the lookout for that. Coming to you soon via Premium Bandai. Looks like in July, so very soon. All right. Last bit of news here. God, this guy's art is just, I love it. Old school yokai stuff. So it's the creator of GeGeGe, GeGeGe no Kitaro.
Yep.
Shigeru Mizuki. So he's going to have a big exhibition in Tokyo.
Oh, nice. I always wish I could go to those, but they're always in Tokyo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would be great. It's going to be between July and September. And it's got some really cool pieces of art. Hopefully, you know, if you can't get there, hopefully there'll be some better, you know, online walkthroughs, views, whatever of it, so you can check it out.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's pretty damn neat. It's cool. And there's a cafe, of course, that has, you know, themed ridiculous burgers and such to go along with it. So, you know, check that out. Check out his work in general. Shigeru Mizuki, he's got some some real cool stuff. Unfortunately, he's, you know, passed away because he was 93 in 2015.
Yeah, man. Holding it down.
But just, he's got some really goddamn cool. This skeleton, man, it's just classic, you know, weird Japanese yokai stuff. Like, this is kind of shit people get tattooed because it's just so awesome.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, go check that out. If you're in Tokyo, definitely go check it out in person. But that's it. That's all I got. That's the news.
The news. I didn't catch up on much this week. That hey, classic. Love After World Domination had a classic school festival episode.
Isn't it almost over?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's one of those go nowhere shows. It's a rom-com,
Gotcha.
man.
Like a slice of life.
Stuff happens. It's like an episode of Friends, except actually funny.
So you got the nice theme, you know, school festival week episode or whatever.
Fudo shows up. Like,
are there any Nazi tanks in Nazi themed bars?
No, there are no Nazi themed bars.
Yursei Yutsura is not.
No. Desiree is doing a maid cafe. And she wants Fudo to show up, but then he shows up and everybody recognizes him because, you know, he's Red Ranger.
Yeah, sure.
And then hilarity ensues. That's about it.
Nice.
Pretty standard. Funny episode, though.
All right, so still good. That's another show I got to catch up on.
Black Rock
It's on my
Shooter,
list.
I'm still behind a couple episodes.
Black Rock Shooter.
What else was?
We'll do a wrap up at the end of the season too. I think of what
Yeah,
shows are good, what shows are
we're about
bad.
there.
Kind of a post-mortem for you. See what might be worth your time to binge, because I know a lot of people like to kind of just wait and binge stuff after it's all
within the
out.
next 2 weeks, I'll catch up on everything, and we'll just have the end of the season.
The wrap-up.
Fucking throwdown.
What else did you catch up on?
It was just Amaim.
Amaim, all right. Amaim.
And since you're caught up too.
Well, I'm not completely caught up.
Well, I'm
Go
not
ahead.
completely caught up either, but
I got thoughts on Amaim. You go first and talk about the most recent episode, and then I'll give some general
I
thoughts.
haven't even watched the most recent episode yet.
Okay.
I'm caught up to. Well, I didn't mean I was caught up. I meant I was caught up to where you are. Basically.
Oh, got it. So Amaim. So let's talk about Amaim a little bit, and we'll talk more in the postmortem because it's not over yet. I love that it is very classic Sunrise.
Yeah,
Very classic Sunrise mecha.
That was my initial attraction to it.
Because
I'm kind of jonesing for it because they give you like one a year maybe.
I love that. The plot I like. I like the idea. It's got a really good idea.
Right?
Yeah, like Japan has been carved up into its constituent parts because it was
it's not terribly believable because they have zero natural resources and nobody would want it's
I don't know why anybody would
maybe like a refueling station in the Pacific.
And it's not even good for that because it's not in the middle of nowhere like Guam.
Yeah, exactly. But interesting idea.
Interesting idea, and it's interesting because the powers that have carved it up, it's not like it's the U.S. and China and whatever. It's like big like why wasn't Japan already part of one of these like Eurasia?
Yeah, it's like the Eurasian
which has got like Russia and
like,
Europe, and you got
shit.
like the Asian one, which is kind of like China and Southeast Asia, and then Oceania.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? The North American one.
Yeah. So I mean,
which is, it's basically America, but I'm assuming Canada and Mexico are somehow involved as well.
Sure.
Not enough sombreros for my liking, personally.
Sure they are.
Not enough pickup trucks or shotguns either.
Yeah.
So
no cowboy hats to be seen.
It's got a good idea. I have some issues. One is there's not a lot of characters. For a show like this, not a lot of characters. That's not necessarily bad, but there's not a lot of characters.
And they float around and do not focus on the main characters that hard.
They don't.
Which is kind of odd to me.
And the main character does not get a ton of character development, really.
Nah.
I find his character development kind of
They did a lot of
messy?
off-screen character development between the seasons.
They did, but then it's
and then you get
weird.
a little bit of backstory, but not really.
And they hedgehog that one for 3 or 4 episodes before they really tell you what happened.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't quite make sense why he's acting the way he is.
I don't
so
know.
that skip is a little weird. The mecha battles, they're not terrible, but they're not great.
Nah, not really. They're not like Gundam tier.
It's just interesting because they'll show damage to the mecha at certain points, but up until then it's like a kid crashing his toys together with no damage. It's very weird. And then all of a sudden parts will crumble off and stuff. It's
it's very Transformers.
I don't get there should be impact to these. It's almost like every mecha is just invincible, or they die immediately, or they're just fodder, right? Or they just immediately blow up.
You just get your head blown off.
And they're mostly unmanned, so there's not a lot of visceral reaction there.
Nah, there's only a half dozen of them that even have pilots. You know what I mean? The rest of them are just autonomous.
I get that by not having them kill people all the time and not being war in that way, there's a message there too. And I get that it does emphasize when he comes back, the main character comes back and freaking kills a guy. It actually has some impact.
That was the one thing they did correctly because it mattered.
It mattered. Right,
because
that was cool.
The guy was not going to give up, and it's just nope, you're dead.
You're done. Which again, he had basically disabled his mech at that point, so he didn't really have to do that. So it was a little contrived just to have that scene, but it's fine. I appreciate it. It was a good scene. So yeah, it's good but not great so far. Now, this is the kind of show where I was thinking to myself, if this is all kind of prelude and they really go on with it and make it 50 episodes, I don't think they will. I think it'll be done at the end of this season. Then there's something to be said about that, kind of slow rolling into it.
Yeah.
It would remind me a little bit of a not as weird Victory Gundam, where they kind of donk around on Earth with not a lot of people for a while.
Half this
before they get to the second half and get to space, and it really ramps up.
Yeah.
And
Makes
then
sense.
turns into a Gundam show again, and actually I think gets pretty good because I really do think the second half of Victory Gundam is pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Unlike the first half, which is darn. I'm not saying it's great either because Victory Gundam's got its issues. So there's that, and I don't know. I don't know. I like the designs. I like the mech designs a lot.
Yeah, they're really cool.
I think they're pretty cool. I like the different, empires, federations, whatever.
More federations.
All have their different designs, which is cool. They do a little bit of politics stuff, but
not much.
Not much, and they honestly should probably lean into that a little more,
yeah,
considering the nature
whole
of the
thing
show.
With, like there's like a couple city states here and there.
Yeah,
that are like, well, they just did that thing a couple episodes ago, where I think like
the autonomous cities,
the Eurasian Alliance or whatever the hell it was, like allowed, a certain section to be Japanese territory again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Basically, they took a bunch of those city-states and stuck them together and made it like,
because the North Americans...
Neo-Japan or whatever the fuck it's called.
the North Americans were allowing they were kind of taking territory because they were allowing the Japanese to have autonomous cities.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's a show with a lot of good ideas and okay execution, not great execution.
They don't focus on any particular thing enough, kind of.
But it is cool. So I'm not crapping on it, and the ending could certainly pull it up, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I've got at least a couple episodes left.
Yeah, depending on how they do it. And I think it's over this week, and I will certainly catch up and watch all of it. If it is.
Definitely.
Because I'm pretty close. So yeah, I'm glad I caught up on it. It's good. It was between that and 86 I was going to watch. I figured I'd catch up on Amaim because it was still ongoing, and then I can always go watch 86 after. Plus,
yeah, I watched it like seasons after.
I've heard a lot of good things about 86, so I figured I'd save that one because if Amaim for some reason I didn't like it all, which that's not the case, it would be something to go back to. So
86 kind of does everything Amaim doesn't. So
yeah, so I would still recommend so far Amaim if you like a mecha show. But don't expect anything
if
super
you're
special.
jonesing for like an old school Sunrise mecha show because you get like maybe one a year now.
It's got a bit of a Gundam Seed feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not the same kind of show. The
characters are
but
less annoying than Seed. So I'll give it props
but there are no
for that.
side characters that are as good as some of this. Like Moo, I thought was a good side character in Seed.
True.
And the villain was way better because Raul Crusade is a much better villain than frickin' Brad, what the hell is his name? Brad, whatever.
Is he even the villain?
I don't know.
I think it's more like the sinister,
AI ghost.
Guy,
There's the sinister. That's the other problem. Like, who is the villain? There's no clear antagonist. Like the first season, it was the Ghost, which is an evil AI mech. I like that as an idea.
It's like basically if you made Anaheim Electronics the overall villain in Gundam.
Which
that's like basically the
spoiler alert. They actually are the villain in Gundam.
Of course they are.
They just get to skate in every series.
I mean, like, that's pretty much what happens in the real world, right?
Yeah.
Business interests.
Raytheon is always the villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I had some thoughts on Amaim. I've shared them. Like I said, I'll have kind of firmed up my opinion by next week if it's all out. Because I'm assuming that the last episode is this weekend. If not, then it'll be another week. I won't talk about it again until it's over.
Either way, I'm going to hit it hard this week and catch up on everything else.
Yeah. It just, I think I wanted it to surprise me more like something like King Gainer. Yeah, which is way better than it has any right to be.
It was very like by the book.
But it's very formulaic.
And I usually like that, but I don't know.
We always say it. It's about the execution, and I do think the execution here is middling. And that's its problem, is the execution was not great.
It's decent. Could have been great. We'll see how it ends.
Yeah. A lot of great ideas. So, anyway, we'll move on from that.
Oh, you know what? We have 1 million episodes to catch up on of the space one.
Legend of Galactic Heroes?
Yes,
No,
Legend of Galactic
we literally have like 2 episodes to watch, and that season's over. Dope!
I thought we had weeks and weeks and weeks.
We did, but they only released like 12 episodes at a time. And I remember they were doing like 3, because we were surprised when we first watched it because 3 of them had already dropped. They released them kind of quick.
Okay, then fair enough. Anyway.
Yeah, no, we're almost caught up.
That
we really do
we
have
can
to
catch
finish
up
that.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, we've been pretty bad about that. It's a good show, but it's summer and
everybody's
busy.
Only so much time in a week, man.
Everybody's busy.
I don't make money watching anime.
No.
Unfortunately.
Fair enough. Yeah, that would be nice. All right. So it's time, sir. It's time
Question
for
of the week. Okay.
Question of the week.
I was thinking, as far as I can tell, Western entertainment is pretty much dragging on the bottom now. I think we bottomed out.
Yeah, there's always that
I don't think
exception to the rule.
I don't think it'll get much worse.
The quality of Kenobi.
Like the comic industry. Well, like let's take like the big four. It's like comics.
Comics are bad.
Comics, movies.
Non-manga comics are bad.
Comics, movies.
Yeah, movies.
Shows.
Movies are bad, although, again, I think movies are the closest to pulling out because, like, Top Gun, like, crushed it. So
anyway, let me get to the rest of
TV shows, and what was your fourth?
And games.
And games. Yep, okay.
So I don't think comics can get any lower. Like, they don't make money. They're basically dead. Like, that is dead.
There's a resurgence in crowdfunding. But again, the niche stuff is taking off.
The industry is dead.
But the mainstream industry is toast.
Disney Plus, Netflix, all basically going bankrupt, like inch by inch every day.
Yep.
Movies are starting. Movies are random, and games.
I think movies are, like I said, I think movies are the closest to pivoting.
At any rate,
games. It's interesting. It's like two different.
Regardless,
tracks.
the question is before you answer it.
Yep.
What do you think is like the first thing that's going to come back? Because I've been pondering that all week.
So what is the first? So I think I said movies already, but I don't think that takes into account games.
Movies is interesting because it didn't. Movies and like TV shows didn't 100% go away. Like you always get one. Like there's like one or two gems a year that just sneak through. Same with shows. Like where the fuck did Reacher come from? You know, from like the company that's bringing you fucking
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power. You get like the fucking Reacher series, which was like the most awesome 80s like throwback ever. No,
it was very good. So part of this answer has to do with the amount of time it takes to make something.
Yeah,
right?
That's like a big consideration.
Games take the longest, right? For the most part, games take the longest. But it's interesting because games, big AAA games are infested, but honestly, games has always had the pad built in because Japanese games are far more acceptable and accepted in the mainstream than Japanese TV for sure.
Yeah.
Or Japanese movies are, right?
Yep.
And especially live action, right? Like they don't make a dent. Live action Japanese stuff doesn't make a dent over here. It's all the animated stuff. And it's kind of where manga is now, where like manga dominates. So the comic book industry, if you consider manga comics, which you probably should, it's already bounced back. It's just the void's been filled by manga. But superhero comics, like Western superhero comics, they've kind of been dead for a fucking long time.
Yeah, I think just finished it off.
I remember the late 90s being like...
There's a lot of bad business decisions that went into the comic book industry. Like, we've said this before, taking them out of, like, supermarkets and shit.
Yeah.
That's where everybody got their
Newsstands.
comics when they were a kid. Like, you're with your mom, you're fucking 7 years old, and she wants you to shut the fuck up while she's shopping, so she gets you a fucking comic book.
Yep.
That's how all of them got sold back then. And they're like, no, we have to have them just in special stores.
And comics is the quickest thing to turn around.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's not a lot of lead time on comics. You could very easily just get rid of the woke garbage and just move on. But the problem is they're so destitute and they have no ability to compete against manga right now that they're just desperate for that ESG money.
I think there is going to be a certain part of the industry, whatever's left, once they like jettison all those like people who are talentless, that will just like straight up take the Japanese, route and just make, Western comics in that style.
Well, at least take the business practice. Like we've complained about this before, where it's like make it pure meritocracy, where the things that sell you make more of, the things that don't sell you don't make more of. Stop trying to push messages, right? And you need to float new things. You need to have like a anthology comic every month that comes out, or at least every quarter that comes out, that collects some new ideas, and you can see how well that's responded to, and then you could give people limited runs like they do in manga, and then see if it takes off.
I think they're gonna like start doing stuff that isn't cape shit too.
Well, like superheroes are fine, but they need new fucking superheroes. Like My Hero Academia does well because The Boys will do well because it's not the same. You just can't.
You can only grind Batman
shit.
into the fucking ground so long.
Batman, at this point, Batman and Superman, they shouldn't be monthly comics. They should be one-shots, specials, miniseries that just tell specific stories.
Yeah, just a graphic novel.
Because they're the best anyway, right? Just do that. All right, I just think that's the right way to go.
Yeah, I just think the whole format's dead. You just got to do something different.
Floppy, that's the other thing, too, is like just selling a 20-ish page floppy comic for $3-4. I don't know that that's what you want to do anymore either.
Nah, I think it's dead.
I think you want to go more a accelerated schedule, Kickstarter, Indiegogo kind of route. Not in how you sell them, but like sell a little more. Like a volume of a manga gets you more, right? Sell a little more, right? Like sell comics that are maybe 48 pages, right? And they're just almost like a mini graphic novel. And maybe you do that every 2 months or every 3 months, once a quarter.
I love the Shonen Jump model where you get like a few pages every week,
like
but
a
you
chapter
get like
a week.
Dozens of them. You know what I mean? That just seems fun.
I mean, it's like 20 pages in a manga, but in American comic, let's say it was 8 pages. You can do that, right? You could try all these different things out. They need to experiment and see what will work and then do that, right? And take some lessons from manga because they already know that works. Exactly. That's what they need to do. But I don't think comics will bounce back anytime soon because the industry's so rotten. Like and plus there is that juggernaut of manga to fill the void.
I think it's
so that's hard to overcome.
I think they're gonna shut down, honestly. Like I think Marvel and DC are just gonna license it to somebody else.
They're gonna license it to somebody else, yeah. They won't be made
because they have no interest in it. Like none of those giant companies that own everything have any interest in like
give it to a company
comics.
that's fucking competent to make them. Like that's fine. They only care about the licensing anyway. But the problem is there's a vested interest for those companies to do that because that creates ideas for you to make shows and movies off of, which are a lot more expensive to make.
It's like the bedrock of entertainment and has been for like 50
That's
years.
your cauldron of ideas. So, anyway, comics will not be the first one to bounce back. It should be, but it will not be.
And it will never be what it was.
So, movies. So, we have movies, games. So, I was going on games. So, games. Games is interesting too. Games has that same kind of manga thing. Like I was saying before, Japanese games are far more accepted, right? They can sell millions of units. They're big. And they don't tend to have the same problems with wokeness. And, you also have the Nintendo factor when Nintendo puts out games and they're all going to sell a ton of copies and have none of that garbage going on, right?
Yeah.
Like Kirby's new game is good and it sells a ton. Like more Mario games sell. Breath of the Wild 2 is going to fucking sell like crazy. The Metroid game. So you're not going to have that problem. Plus, there's a big indie field where indie games are really crushing it. And there's so many of them. There's so many of them that there is true meritocracy going on there, right? Like people will buy the games that are good and they will become popular because they are good and not for any other reason. Because no one listens to game critics anymore. Game critics have been so discredited, no one listens to them anymore. They're pointless. People look at user scores a bit, but I don't think very many people listen to game critics. Well, they may have their critics they know are good and they'll listen to them, but mainstream game journalists, no one listens to them. So I don't know that games even need to bounce back. It's like, will AAA Western games bounce back? I think they're stuck in the same loop they've been in, and it's going to take a while to pull out of it with all the bad writing and woke garbage and bad character redesigns. Like, what did they do to Horizon Zero Dawn? Jesus Christ. They made my poor girl Aloy look like she had chipmunks in her cheeks.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Not chipmunk cheeks, actual chipmunks in her cheeks.
Terrible
character redesign.
Yeah, so
and that
stupid.
boring Ubisoft style formula is not working for people, right? And like Elden Ring blew up everything, and just God, so many salty developers, so mad. How dare you make a game that's different and is somehow popular? Like,
they just don't get it.
So mad.
They live in a bubble. Like they don't even talk to people who play the games. Probably
they don't. They don't care. They live in their journalist bubble. So games is kind of a weird case.
I think the to get off of video games for a minute, I think the tabletop bubble has burst.
Yes.
There's like 2 or 3 games that people still play, but everything else is just
There's
dead.
too many games. There's too many tabletop games.
And I think same with RPGs. I think that RPG wave is just dead now.
Well, because RPGs are always going to be a niche product.
Yeah.
I'm glad they've become more culturally acceptable.
Remember how fucking ridiculously big it was for a while.
Yeah, but they've become more culturally acceptable, so more people will be willing to play them and try them. But there's only ever going to be a certain percentage of people that are going to enjoy them enough to play them.
Yeah, I don't think... Well, I mean...
Because it takes a very specific...
It's the bullshit Critical Role factor where everybody would rather watch 5 other people play than actually play themselves. Because then they'd have to have an imagination.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing, right? Like there only ever is going to be a certain amount of people that are going to be into that. All right, so what's first, right? So I've said that American comics are not. I don't think American AAA games are, because that's where I'm limiting it to, right? Because I think those other two are already not really broken.
Yeah.
So then what do you have left? You got movies and you got TV shows. And honestly, I don't know, because like they both have the same problems from the same sources, because it's also interwoven now. You know, like Disney's a problem regardless of whether they make a TV show or a movie.
They're just fucking hemorrhaging money. I don't know how long they can keep doing it, honestly.
TV shows should come back sooner, but I think the canary in the coal mine was Ghostbusters 2016. So movies saw that problem first, and they're not pandering to China anymore because that did not work.
That does help a lot.
That helps. So seeing something like Top Gun Maverick make money...
Well, because Tencent pulled out of Top Gun Maverick.
Yes, they did.
And they're like, if we're going to make concessions and you're still just going to be assholes, like, fuck it.
Yeah,
so
fuck
they put
off.
all the shit they cut out back in. Boom.
Yeah.
Cash money.
And it made a ton of money. So I think movies will bounce back
The thing
quicker.
with China, too, not to cut you off, they're locking down provinces like full-on lockdown every
China's
5
fucked.
minutes. So you can't even release movies over there because there's like literally no people to watch.
China's completely fucked. And it's not a market you ever made money out of anyway, because the Chinese government would just steal all your profits.
It's so true. Like
completely pointless. It was such a fool's game. Like, I get it. There's a billion people. You should be targeting India. You would have done better.
Yeah, it's true, man. They
like everything. So
yeah, man. They're like wrestling marks and shit.
Yeah, come on. Anyway, they're also too poor. That's the problem. China had more money, which makes no sense because communism, but whatever. Hashtag not real communism. Anyway, so I think movies will be first. I'm saying I think movies will be first.
Yeah, I kind of agree, yeah.
Because I think they saw the canary in the coal mine first. And the shows that fell apart.
Movies cost a lot more money to make usually, too.
Yeah, although new series, man, they're getting up there. They're getting up there.
All the really expensive ones are kind of crap usually.
When they're falling apart because they're made by the same problem studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think movies will turn around quicker.
It would seem that way.
Then again, there's going to be a lot of good of both, I think, coming up. You know, there's a lot of good signs. You know, new Reacher was good. I think the new Justified will be excellent.
Oh, God, I hope so.
What We Do in the Shadows is still good. You know?
Oh, yeah, that like lives in its own bubble that just does not give
It's
a
just
fuck.
funny. So
There's plenty of decent stuff coming out.
But I just think movies will have higher volume of good stuff coming up because a lot of the Cape shit's getting destroyed, which
everyone's bored with it anyway. Like
they told their story.
It's just done.
It was almost not perfect, but it was so close. That Captain Marvel, man, that really puts a damper on the end of
right.
And the way they ended Endgame was kind of fucky, but
yeah,
Infinity War was a lot better. So I mean, they stuck the landing as well as you could be expected to, but whatever.
Yeah, you get what you get.
So yeah, that's my feelings on it. Again, there's mitigating factors everywhere. Like movies, you want to come back more because that's the one thing you don't get.
Yeah,
right. Like I can substitute TV watching with anime very easily.
True, yeah.
But I can't. Not movies. There's not enough anime movies. Plus, it's not the same thing.
You don't get that big budget like
what that spectacle.
Fucking summer blockbuster, man. July 4th. Remember when July 4th used to be like
Independence Day?
Yeah.
Welcome to Earth.
The summer blockbuster every year, usually starring Will Smith before he went crazy for God, my entire childhood.
Bring back Westerns too. I'm gonna raise your fist on that one, boy. Bring back them Westerns.
Yeah, it's so sporadic. Like there'll be a run of a few, and then they'll go away. Like that's our own, our only mythology, basically. Yep. Like Japan has
that
samurais.
And gangster movies.
We got gunslingers and gangsters. You know what I mean? More of that shit. I love fucking 30s noir style.
Oh yeah.
Like gangster shit.
There needs to be more noir. I know there's people making noir now, so I'm not saying it doesn't exist, and that's always going to be a bit of a niche, but I'd love to see a more
honestly,
like
with the economy going to shit and everything being generally shit, you usually get like an uptick in like noir stuff. You know what I mean?
You are.
Gritty.
I think you are going to get that. So.
And cowboy stuff.
And
actually.
pulp.
Yeah,
we'll
just
see.
pulp in general.
We'll see. But
Escapism.
That's my thoughts on that. I think movies will be first, but it's complicated because, like I said, there's mitigating factors everywhere, like the Japanese game industry being able to mitigate a lot of the bad Western AAA titles.
It's true.
And in the indie game industry too, which that's got its own issues, but there's so much of it that again meritocracy actually works there.
Which one do you miss the most?
What do I miss the most?
I have the most nostalgia for comics, but it's been so long since you got consistent good comics that I kind of don't I miss it deep down in my heart. But not really, because I'd stopped buying monthly comics.
I feel bad for
years ago.
kids not able to get it, but then I don't because all that manga is available and it's really good. So
yeah,
whatever.
Nobody's really starving. I mean, they have manga at the fucking library now.
Oh yeah. Well, plus I mean, Barnes & Noble gets treated like the library. Kids just sitting there reading it. Right. Whatever. What do I miss? I think you said summer blockbuster. It's summer blockbuster,
right? I just miss the outlandish fucking. Just ridiculous action movies.
Because games aren't a problem. I'll just play Elden Ring for forever. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it's they can fuck with D&D forever, but you could just use old rules and not care. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, tabletop games. We didn't talk about that much. There's no need to. It's kind of hard to ruin them. Another edition of D&D that they've completely fucked up. Every other edition, they fucked up in different ways. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
And then, like you said, there's old rules. You can ignore shit. Do your own thing. There's a million other game systems. It's fine.
True.
Not a problem.
It's almost uncorruptible.
Wow. Anyway, I think it's time. It's about time.
Get down on the Spriggan.
Move on to Spriggan.
The Spriggan.
So we talked last week about the 98 movie. 98 or 99. It's 98, but I think it was 99 when it was released over here.
Yeah.
And that movie is apparently an expanded version of what's episode 2 here. So it's an expanded version of a piece of the manga. I'm assuming, I've never read the manga, I'm assuming this series is sticking very close to the manga.
It feels very much like the stock. We made a movie years ago, and we're going to go back and just do the manga now.
And it's done by Studio David, the same studio that does JoJo's. You can tell it's the same studio that does JoJo's. It looks very similar, which is good. I like them a lot.
Oh, yeah, it's very nice animation.
My only gripe, and I'm going to put a gripe up front, my only gripe is some of the CG they use for background characters, because it's mostly for background characters, not main characters, is not great. But JoJo's has that same problem.
It's noticeable. It's not
terrible.
It's not so distracting that you're like, oh, this is terrible.
No, I agree. And honestly, it's getting me excited for what the future of that will be, where they actually get it really down.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting way closer.
They're getting a lot closer.
With less money.
And some studios have gotten closer than others. UFO Table does a better job, but...
They only on stuff that,
Well, only on stuff that really matters, yeah.
Well, stuff that, gets dump trucks loads of money backed up to it, you know what I mean?
That's the other thing. I bet you this does not get... I mean, it's Netflix, but I bet you do not get anywhere near as much money.
It's not getting Demon Slayer money.
No, it is not.
A single episode of Demon Slayer looks like movie quality.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Especially that last season. Holy shit. That Entertainment District arc. Oh, boy.
Wild.
Anyway, so Spriggan. What the hell is Spriggan about? We talked about it last week. The manga is basically the same. You got the Arkham, the secret private military organization that basically finds ancient artifacts from this ancient super advanced civilization, or it could be aliens, who knows, that is buried throughout the world and it could still be used to...
And it's hyper dangerous. This is civilization ending tech that they just have to keep out of the hands of
there's
people.
a giant... The first episode has a giant lava snake monster that lives in Mount Fuji that you could basically destroy the entire area with. And then the second episode has Noah's Ark again, where Noah's Ark could basically destroy the entire planet.
The first episode had that ridiculous, it was the monsters, but it was also that lens that would just turn sun energy into a laser basically and bake.
That was the first. That's right. I totally forgot about that because that was the very first part.
Yeah, you can fucking torch areas of the earth.
You could Sodom and Gomorrah an area. You could just turn it, burn the area to dust.
It.
Giant space laser style.
Yeah, it's all biblical.
Mostly biblical stuff, right? And it's, you find these plates, and a lot of this technology exists outside of time, so the flow of time doesn't affect it at all, which makes it basically invincible.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And it also doesn't degrade at all.
Kind of a cool idea, though.
It's a cool idea. So main character is still Omine. Doesn't have the same backstory as far as I can tell from the movie.
A little bit different. He's got a different feel.
Yeah.
He's a little bit more of like a tongue-in-cheek jackass in this one, which I kind of like.
I like
better.
that. He's
less
more
serious.
He's more what you expect out of a shonen antagonist or protagonist.
Yeah,
because
he's like a kid. You don't want him too serious.
He's
and
16.
he's
16.
And he has that fucking ridiculous suit that essentially makes him invincible. So he's just super cocky. You know what I mean?
That orichalcum suit that also in this one more obviously grows and becomes like more muscly.
Oh yeah, it like lights up and shit.
You can like punch your damn head off.
Pretty
if
awesome.
He needs to. It's still got the hyperviolence, which is nice.
Oh yeah, God.
They are obsessed with turning people into tiny chunks of meat.
Yeah, wicked bad.
So anyway, let's talk about the first episode a little bit, and then we'll compare and contrast the second episode with the movie, because the second episode and the movie are adapted from the same material. So, first episode, you have that first little bit that's the good introduction of your main character. You know, stopping that guy from the guy who had like the weird ultrasonic wave powers.
Oh yeah, he had like his hand. He had like robotic hands that had like ultrasonic
that
wave
could just like
generators in them,
smooth your brain from the inside.
basically.
And he used Doppler effect to get past him. That was kind of cool. And stopped him from getting that like space laser, basically, is what it was.
Yeah,
the Earth Scorcher. And then it goes into like this professor who's some 16-year-old kid.
of course.
Who was at the same orphanage as you, and knew him before and is looking for him now, but doesn't realize that you is you, which I liked, because why would you recognize somebody from that many years ago?
Yeah, if you see somebody when they're like 17, last time you saw them they were 7. There's going to be a huge fucking difference.
You're probably not going to know, right? So he's protecting her. There's the CIA's trying to get at her, the like Russian Spetsnaz or whatever, or whatever they are trying to get at, it's KGB, whatever the equivalent is, trying to get at her. And there's also
it's very old school.
One other dude who's in this clan. He's in a clan that protected this lava snake that lives below Mount Fuji. Yeah. He's also trying to get at her, and he's got a crazy like sword with like it's got like an orb on the bottom that controls that place. Plus, it like cuts through everything because it's orichalcum or better. I don't know.
Orichalcum or higher.
Yeah, and orichalcum's a mystical metal, which is. I think it's Greek. I think that's the origin of it. Yeah, you can look it up. So he's cutting people. He's slicing and dicing people left and right all over the place. He's, your classic jackass antagonist. The plot in this one is simple. I mean, it's just them running, him protecting the girl and running from, all the people trying to fight him. The ridiculous, like, I don't know, zombie. He's not quite a zombie. He's got super healing, like, Spetsnaz guy, huge
that
Russian dude.
Yeah, the knife guy.
Yeah, who's just got 2 knives and he comes at you. Very old school.
And he's super hard to kill because he like smashes his head, and then he has these like crazy like injectors that like inject like some kind of healing serum into him and shit.
I mean, his head gets like completely crushed and it heals up in maybe a half hour less, 20 minutes.
He's back by the end of the movie.
There's a little like Wolverine, Deadpool-ness going on there. But lava takes care of everybody. So then the end, takes place on Mount Fuji.
Just ask the Terminator.
Yeah, and obviously the snake's gonna get let loose, and then there's Yu's gonna have to fight the guy and defeat him. So that's all that really happens. That first episode, not a lot happens, but
a lot of cool action scenes.
A lot of cool action scenes.
Good animation for the most part.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of gore.
They did not. They fucked with some of the character designs, but not really.
A little bit.
Yu's basically the same.
Yeah, they're not that different. A little more anime style, a little more stylized. The heads are a little bit bigger, a little less realistic, a little more spiky hair.
Yeah.
But not much. So that's pretty good. It introduces you to you, and it's cool. It's a cool episode. I don't have too much to say about it because it is a very basic kind of intro.
They did like a good intro character building with him, like having the girl from his past show up in the first episode is kind of smart because then you get like a lot of little backstory out of the way. You know what I mean?
It was
without
good.
Wasting time on it, really.
It was good. So then,
smart writing.
Second episode. So that's where we'll spend the bulk of our time. So the second episode is adapted from the same stuff as the movie, right? And the movie, it just pads it out, right? It's got extra backstory stuff that probably isn't quite the same here. It ties together the machine core with you, which I don't really think there's actually a tie there.
No, there is no tie.
They show up here.
They got rid of that whole thing, yeah.
Fat Man and Little Boy show up here. Fat Man's design is way creepier. He's still got the giant chain gun and his like...
He's got like tiny legs. He's just like fat.
He's got like
tiny
robot
arms.
Legs. He's not just some big beefy guy. Like
he's
got that faceplate thing going on. Like He's way more creepy looking. He's got those rocket skis.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Little boy is basically
almost
identical.
Yeah.
Instead of having the things that come out of his fingers, it comes out of like the gauntlet. Colonel Baby, Colonel whatever the hell his name is, McDougal, MacDougal.
That stupid kid.
That design is basically the same. They made him look crazier.
He's got like super crazy eyes.
He's got crazy eyes and stuff, but he doesn't have the crazy like stuff sticking out the back of his head. So
yeah, that's true.
And that they don't have the same necessary backstory for him. Like he's definitely far more into what the CIA did to him. He's not like a tortured child, although he is a bit at the end. He's kind of tortured about the evil things he's done to get where he's at. He's still a megalomaniac. Like yeah. John is completely different, and now he's a werewolf too.
He's a fucking werewolf for some reason.
He gets killed at some point, and then he just werewolfs out and just murders the hell out of everything.
Which is pretty awesome, actually. It comes out of nowhere. Like, you do not... It's like, wait a minute, I remember this guy. Wait, why are you fucking werewolf?
It does not have the chase scene in Turkey, which is... That was a really good scene in the movie. So
yeah, it's kind of a shame. That's like the only thing that the movie did better, really.
That's kind of a shame. It's not a comedy of errors. Like, Yu is not like getting shot at by his own people. Like, they know who he is immediately. Because of course they fucking would. He's like the #1 operative. Whatever.
Yeah, come on, man.
But mostly it's the same. You know, they got Noah's Ark. It looks different, but it's Noah's Ark. And, you know, the kid wants to use it. Well, the CIA wants to get a hold of it to, or the Americans in general want to get a hold of it to, you know, have that kind of power. But the kid has his own ideas. He wants to get in there and remake the world. He wants to, like, use it to completely burn the world away and repopulate it with new whatever. Right? Yeah. He wants to remake it entirely because it's got the power to terraform the entire planet and like get new creatures out there and everything. Still had the weird Cthulhu-looking monsters. They weren't as Cthulhu-y this time, but and dinosaurs and stuff that were inside of it. It wasn't as creepy on the inside. It was more normal.
Yeah,
it wasn't like definitely a weird extra-dimensional space. But basically the same. Basically the same story, compressed. I actually like it better. I like it's paced better.
No,
and the movie's good,
better.
But I think this is
like
there's
a couple things I like better about the movie, but I think all in all, it was paced better in the OVA.
So anyway, that's the first 2 episodes. What do you think? What do you like? What do you not like?
I'm super stoked actually, because I always wanted more because it was like it's a single movie. You know, there was manga. You know, a bunch of manga out there. It seemed dumb to not just do the rest of it. So it's like, I heard nothing about it until it was like, you know, a few months away from coming out. So pretty awesome. It was a fun surprise.
I like that it's a little lighter. It's a little more classic shonen. I like that.
Yeah, it's a little more fun. It's not as gritty. I mean, it's still hyper violence, but it doesn't have that like doomy feel that the movie had. You know,
it doesn't try to be as grounded as the movie tried to be.
Yeah, like they get a little more wacky. It's a little more anime.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I feel like the original movie was made more for Western audiences. That's like the feel I got out of it.
It's brighter too, like because the late '90s has some really colorful anime, but the movie feels a little desaturated.
Yeah, it's very dark and dank.
It's a little dark because going with that more realistic look, maybe that little bit of that Ghost in the Shell look.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Definitely like aping that a bit.
Everybody was aping that shit back then.
More so than like Ninja Scroll that I think is a little brighter. At least in color palette, this is way. It pops more, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a very easy to distinguish difference.
I like it a lot. I'm really looking forward to
I can't
watching
watch
the rest of the show.
I'm stoked.
Like I said, I like that it's kind of mini movies.
And I didn't know what they were gonna do. I didn't know if because I never read the manga. I didn't know if that was just the beginning of the manga, and then they were gonna like continue from the movie, or if that was
or if
just
this was
a
gonna
piece
be a
of
sequel, or if it was
so it's cool that
compressed,
that's just like a single episode. And now there's like 4 more. So.
Yeah, so you can see what happens. This doesn't have the end of the movie, which is kind of like the kid, like, haha, I'm escaping, I'm going to do stuff this time. Oh, no.
Yeah,
that is not what happens. So the ending is a bit different. It's a little more tragic. But a lot, very similar. Some of the lines are identical, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot of the beats are the same. It's just well done. I really like it. I'm glad Studio David did it because they do pretty good stuff. Mm-hmm. There's other studios, too, that could have done it. But, when you don't have a Madhouse really doing much stuff anymore. Like, that's who I would love to have seen done it, but Studio David does a really goddamn good job.
It's funny how those studios just ebb and flow.
Yeah, it's very
studios
interesting.
do not stay on top forever. It's kind of weird.
It's probably because the talent goes and leaves, or the people who found it, they age out, and then
Yeah, it's interesting actually.
It is very interesting. But anyway,
I guess if I paid attention, you probably have that. There's not a lot of movie studios in the States, though. You know what I mean?
I would still recommend watching both.
Oh, hell yeah.
I would say go watch the movie first and then watch this. it's going to be 40 minutes where it's very similar, but it's fun to kind of contrast and see the difference. Plus, you really want to see that awesome car chase scene.
Yeah, it's really fucking good.
Really goddamn good. Yeah, I like it. I am very much looking forward to more. This is what Netflix should have been spending their money on to begin with. Like,
yeah, it's like the perfect thing.
Pay money to Japanese studios to do stuff. Like, let's make it happen.
Let's
make Big O Season 3 a thing.
I wouldn't. You know what? I never lost faith. I feel like it's just going to be dug out of the dumpster someday, and they're just going to do it. Like, whatever.
That's what
it's
Japan
like the perfect
does.
thing because they had an option for it back in the day.
Yeah.
So whoever owns not Comedy Central, Cartoon Network now.
Yeah, even, assuming they even still have the rights, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? But I love to see it. Anyway, Spriggan, watch it. Good shit.
Yeah, so we'll get it the next 2 episodes, or we might just finish.
We might finish it. We'll see.
Depends how much time we got.
It depends. It's like I said. It's kind of good to go through them a little slower, just because they're almost
movie length.
Yeah, and there are their own self-contained stories more so than they are like a continuous narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very true.
So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. As a wise Stone Cold once said.
At any rate, as usual, have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace. Well, that's all for today, everyone. We'd like to thank all of you for tuning into another episode of the Gaijin Animation Appreciation Hour. Please remember to like and subscribe, and may your entertainment be always, well, entertaining.